A very good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America in Washington on Friday, December 10th, 2021. This is Live Talk. I am Kip Stube.
And I'm Jonga Kandemiri.
Tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about COVID 19 and the Democracy Summit convened by US President Joseph Biden.
First, a look at COVID-19. The Ministry of Health reports that 3 people succumbed to COVID-19 in Zimbabwe yesterday and 5,189 tested positive for COVID-19.
According to the Ministry of Health, 4,723 people have died of COVID 19 in Zimbabwe since March last year. There are currently 22,000 active COVID 19 cases in the country.
The ministry further reports that almost 4 million people have received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine and 2.9 million their second dose.
Zimbabwean authorities say the Omicron variant has been detected in the country.
And in politics, Zimbabwe was excluded from participating in a 2-day democracy summit convened virtually by US President Joseph Biden.
Leaders from over 100 nations and representatives of non-governmental organizations and others are participating at the summit, which ends today. Yebohambe mahlabezulu linjani lapha likhona endaweni zonke zomhlaba. Namhlanje sikhangela okuhambelana le-COVID-19 bese kubuya ke lo mhlangano omkhulu wenzakala lapha ke kwelemelika. Umhlangano leyo siyawazi ukuthi ubizwa kuthiwa yi-Summit for Democracy. Uqoqwe umhulumende wakwelemelika ukhokhelwa umongameli Joseph Biden. Kodwa singakangeni kulokho singakajuli kangako ukuthi sikhangele-ke i-COVID-19 sibone ukuthi kuhamba njani. Uhlangothi lwezempilakahle kulithi kulabantu abathathu ababulewe umkhuhlane lo izolo bese kusithi-ke abayi-5,189 bahlolwe batholakala bele-COVID-19. Ngokubhubha kwabathathu izolo kusho ukuthi sokulabantu 4,723 osebabulawa yi-COVID-19 kusukela ngoMbimbitho nyakenye. Bese kusithi-ke abantu abayi-155,817 ngabantu asebahlolwa batholakala bele-COVID-19 kwaphepha abayi-129,136. Okwamanje kulabantu abaphila lo mkhuhlane lo abayi-21,951. Nxa sisikhangela sebejove kwakuqala ijekiseni yokuzivikela kumkhuhlane we-COVID-19 bayi-3.9 million. Bese kusithi-ke labo asebehlatshwe esibili bayi-2.9 million. So-ke kukhanya kuyajova kusiya njalo. Nxa sisikhangela-ke i-Democracy Summit yena leyo eyenzakala eMelika sibonile-ke umnumzana umongameli Joseph Biden ekhuluma ngayo ukuthi iyenzelweni. Ngokukhuluma kwakhe uthi kumele bevuselele umbuso okaZulu. So uthi emhlabeni wonke jikelele kukhanya ngani umbuso kaZulu uyawuncipha. Kukhulume sibili lokuthi kwelemelika ngazani kuyenzakala khonokho. So-ke kunjalo-ke Jonga siyakhuluma ngakhonokho siyabona ukuthi iZimbabwe itshiye phandle komhlangano lo oyenzelwa-ke enkundleni zokuxhumana.
Ongwadiwe vateereri nevatariri, nhasi muchirongwa chedu che-Live Talk tiri kutarisa nyaya yedenda reCovid-19 ratekeshera munyika, tichitarisa uwandu hwevanhu vave kubatwa nedenda irori. Mukati memazuva mashoma atanga svondo rino, uwandu hwakwira zvakanyanya. Nezuro vanhu vanokwana kuita 3 vakashaya neCovid-19. Vamwe vanokwana kuita zviuru 5,190 5,189 vakawanikwa vaine denda iroro pavanhu vakavhenekwa nezuro. Uwandu hunotyisa vana veZimbabwe. Tichiona kuti pari zvino bazi redzidzo, bazi rezveutano ndine urombo, bazi rezveutano rakazivisa nezuro wakati kuti vanhu vafa vasvika pazviuru 4,430 ndingadzikorora 4,723 zviuru 4,423 vafa neCovid-19. Pari zvino vanosvika zviuru 22 22,000 ndo vari kurwara neCovid-19 pari zvino yavangati active cases munyika. Iyo bazi iro riri kutaurawo kuti vanhu vanodarika zvishoma mamiliyoni 4 kana kuti vada kusvika mamiliyoni 4 vabayiwa nhomba yekutanga yekudzivirira COVID-19, kuchiti vamwe vanokwana kuita 2.9 million vabayiwa nhomba yepiri yekudzivirira denda reCovid-19. Zvose zviri kuitika munyika. Zimbabwe yazivisa kuti mave neutachiwana uye kana mhando yeutachiwana inonzi Omicron variant, iyo iri kunzi nevamwe inopararira zvakanyanya, zvinove zvinenge zvaakuonekwa kunyange tisati taziva hedu kuti vari kunyanya kubatwa nedenda irori iye zvino ingave iyo Omicron here, asi uwandiyo ukukwira kwahwaita nekuwanikwa kweOmicron zvinoratidza kuti inenge inopararira zvakanyanya. Tichatarisawo mune zvematongerwo enyika musangano uri kuitwa pamadandemutande wedemocracy kana kuti weutongo hwejekerere uri kunzi iwo the Summit for Democracy uri kutungamirwa nemutungamiri wenyika yeAmerica vaJoe Biden. Tinoona kuti Zimbabwe yakasiyiwa kunze panyika dzingasvika 100 pamwewo nemasangano vakakokwa kuti vanga vachipinda mumisangano iyoyi. Vavakidzani veZimbabwe vakadaidzwa kumusangano iwoyu vakakokwa. Tinoona Zambia, Malawi neSouth Africa variko kumusangano ikoko vakakokwa, asi Zimbabwe hatisati taziva zvikonzero zvakaita kuti inge ichisiyiwa. Vamwe vari kuti yakasiyiwa nekuti haina utongo hwejekerere, asi takanzwa vaBiden vachitaura kuti dzimwe nyika dzavakakoka hazvirevo kuti dzine utongo hwejekerere hwakanaka, asi kuti vari kuti dzidzidze kubva kumusangano iwoyu. Zvinove zvaigonawo kuitika dai kuti Zimbabwe yakanga yapiwawo mukana iwo kana ichinzi haina kodzero dzevanhu dzakanaka kana kuti haina utongo hwejekerere hwakanaka, yaidzidzawo zvakare kubva kumusangano iwoyu. Gibbs.
Yes, we've got a video of President Joseph Biden actually making his address yesterday at the Democracy Summit. Here's what he said.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Summit for Democracy. This gathering has been on my mind for a long time for a simple reason. In the face of sustained and alarming challenges to democracy, universal human rights, and all around the world, democracy needs champions. And I wanted to host this summit because here in the United States, we know as well as anyone that renewing our democracy and strengthening our democratic institutions requires constant effort. American democracy is an ongoing struggle to live up to our highest ideals and to heal our divisions, to recommit ourselves to the founding idea of our nation, captured in our Declaration of Independence, not unlike many of your documents. We say, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all women and men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Democracy doesn't happen by accident. We have to renew it with each generation. And this is an urgent matter on all our parts, in my view, because the data we're seeing is largely pointing in the wrong direction. Freedom House reports in 2020 that marked the 15th consecutive year of global freedom in retreat. Another recent report from the International Institute of Democracy and Electoral Assistance noted more than half of all democracies have experienced a decline in at least one aspect of their democracy over the last 10 years, including the United States. And these trends are being exacerbated by global challenges that are more complex than ever and which require shared efforts to address these concerns. By outside pressure from autocrats, they seek to advance their own power, export and expand their influence around the world, and justify the repressive policies and practices as a more efficient way to address today's challenges. That's how it's sold. By voices that seek to fan the flames of social division and political polarization. And perhaps most importantly, and most worrying of all, by increasing the dissatisfaction of people all around the world with democratic governments that they feel are failing to deliver for their needs. In my view, this is the defining challenge of our time. Democracy, government of the people, by the people, for the people, can at times be fragile, but it also is inherently resilient. It's capable of self-correction and it's capable of self-improvement. And yes, democracy is hard. We all know that. It works best with consensus and cooperation. When people and parties that might have opposing views sit down and find ways to work together, things begin to work. But it's the best way to unleash human potential and defend human dignity and solve big problems. And it's up.
So there you are, Jonga. Uyakhuluma lapha ke uMongameli Biden ukhuluma ke ngokuthi democracy ime njani. Ufanisile lapha ukuthi ulophenyo olwenziwe ke Freedom House lolwenziwe njalo ngabanye abantu abathiyeneyo abatshengisela ukuthi umbuso obalulekileyo uya uncipha emhlabeni wonke jikelele. Ubasele la ngokuthi ke eMelika lakho khanya kunjalo uyancipha kakhulu umbuso uthi yakhumbula uJanuary 6th ukhanya isikhathi sibili esinzima esehlela abantu beMelika. So ke konke khonokho ke uthi kumele kuvuselelwe idemocracy emhlabeni wonke jikelele. Nakho ke kujonga.
Hongu ndizvozvo vadiwa vateereri, tanzwa mutungamiri weAmerica vaJoe Biden vachitaura pamusoro pezvinotarisirwa kuti nyika dzinge dzichisvika pakunzi dzave neutongo hwejekerere. Tanzwa vataura Gibbs kunzi democracy does not happen by accident, it is fought for. Hanzi utongo hwejekerere haungowanikwa mutsaona ayo kana kungodzi wadhumirana nawo, munotourwira kuti hunge huchiitika. Saka ndezvimwe zvezvinhu zviri kutarisirwa kunyika dziri kupinda musangano iwoyo wemazuva maviri. Musangano iwoyo unopera nhasi. Tiri kuona zvakare kuti panyaya iyoyi yeutongo hwejekerere vakawanda muZimbabwe vanenge vachipawo zvikonzero zvokuti aiwa imo muAmerica chaimo hamuna utongo hwejekerere. Saka nyika idzo dzinozosiya sei kana kuti America inozosarudza sei kuti Zimbabwe haisi kuita utongo hwejekerere. Ndezvimwe zvatinenge tichinzwa kubva kuadare wedu Gibbs.
Yes, our first guest is Mr. Thabang Nare. He is a political commentator based in Boston. He is one person who has been coming time and again here to join us in various discussions. Mr. Nare, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Dube.
So we see that Zimbabwe was not invited to this democracy summit in USA. Amid reports that, worldwide, the space of democracy is actually, getting a thin every day. So can you tell us your opinion about why Zimbabwe was not invited to this important and crucial summit?
I think the host is the United States of America, President Joe Biden. And the President of America works with different agencies, including Senate, Congress, and some agencies like State Department, to identify partners in enlarging democracy around the world. So it would appear from what they know, including organizations such as Freedom House, their State of Freedom reports indicates that Zimbabwe is a country where people are not free, indicating that there are possibly no free elections, no free media, no respect for human rights. So democracy, the citizens of Zimbabwe are perceived or known as not enjoying democracy, not enjoying those full human rights.
And in that kind of scenario, I would suspect that maybe it was going to be prudent for the US government to actually invite some of these countries in which what you are saying is not democracy, so that they can learn. Is that not the case?
I think what we have seen in the past, we have this engagement that was done in Glasgow, Scotland, where our country was invited, talk about climate change, but at the end it was then twisted. It came out to be like Zimbabwe had gone to do re-engagement on everything, including politics, the economy, So in international relations, foreign relations, you have to manage perceptions. So at times, if you invite someone and they then do propaganda and pretend as if that shows that Zimbabwe is now democratic, an invite might not have been very relevant for the government led by Mr. Mnangagwa. Kulo mhlangano omkhulu i-Summit for Democracy ebanjwa ikakhulu virtual ihostwa ngubaba uPresident Joe Biden ekhanyela ukuthi indaba yedemocracy umbuso ngentando kaZulu ingengezwa kanjani emhlabeni, amazwe amaningi engathola njani idemocracy okuhambelana lokuthi ama-elections kwenziwa ama-elections ukhetho olu-free and fair, abantu bekhetha abantu abafisa ukuthi bengene emahofisini, abantu izizukulwane ama-citizens engahlukuluzwa ngamapholisa, engahlukuluzwa maybe ngama-members awelinye i-political party. Wonke umuntu nje elizweni ebe ngumuntu okhululekileyo khanyeli izifiso zakhe ukuthi nxa ufisa ukuya esikole uye esikole, nxa ufisa ukuthola umsebenzi usebenze, ungahlukuluzwanga, ungancinganga umuntu ngenxa yokuthi wena ukhangelwa njengomuntu ophansi.
Yes, akuza kakhulu ke Jonga enxa ufuna ukupose question khona baba.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Nare, for being with us here today. As Gibbs said, you are one of our valued contributors and guests to this show.
Thank you.
Yes, but some people are taking this exclusion of Zimbabwe as a political thing for Zimbabwe, being told that it is not democratic. And we have seen on social media the polarization rearing its head there again, people attacking each other over the exclusion of Zimbabwe. Maybe Zimbabwe's chance will come next time. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think the US has made its position very clear through the State Department, the Bureau of African Affairs. They've said that there are reforms that are linked to Zimbabwe's 2011 constitution. So when Zimbabwe implements those reforms and when people of Zimbabwe can testify themselves that they are truly free, that they are going to the courts, seeking recourse, whether for economic rights, political rights, and they're enjoying those rights, Zimbabwe will then gain readmission into those countries that, practice democracy. So democracy is something that you have to practice. The results have to be seen. You need to have those free elections. There must be freedom of speech. So if you've lived in some of these countries, you do appreciate that people enjoy a higher level of democracy, more human rights, a better quality of life, all linked to good governance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nare. Stay on the line there. Let's bring in Mr. Dr. Simbama Vaza of ZANU-PF. Welcome to the program, sir.
Welcome, Gibbs, Jonga.
Thank you
very
so much.
Jonga, go ahead, sir.
Maybe ndotanga hangu nekuti Dr. Mavaza vatipewo maonero avo pamusangano weSummit for Democracy uri kuitwa uchitungamirirwa navaJoe Biden, kwatinoona kuti nyika dzingasvika kuzana nemasangano angada kusvika kuma7 nemapfumbamwe vakakokwa kuti vanga vachipinda musangano iwoyo, asi Zimbabwe haina kupinda mumusangano iwoyo. Kunyange tisina kuziviswa zvikonzero zvinoita kuti Zimbabwe isiyiwe, zvizvi zvamungataura Dr. Mavaza?
Thank you. Chekutanga tinoona kuti musangano wakadaidzirwa navaBiden uyu unosanganisira unotaura pamusoro pekuzvitonga kuzere kana kuti democracy pachirungu. VaBiden vaita sediro rakuta davi kana kuti the baboon missed the branch. The aim, the target yavo is supposed to be nyika dzavanofunga kuti hadzikwanise kuchengetedza bumbiro remitemo yemunyika mavo, nyika dzisingakwanise kuchengetedza kodzero dzevanhu, nyika dzisingakwanise kuita iyo yatingati democratic rule. So kana mune nyika dzamunofungira kudaro, ndo dzamunodaidza kudzidzisana nadzo kuti dzingaita sei, dzingabata papi kuti dzive democratically correct. Saka kana America ichifunga kuti Zimbabwe iri under undemocratic rule, yoregedza kuidaidza kumusangano wakaita seuyu, zvoratidza kuti musangano wavo hauna chinangwa chekuti nyika pasi rese ribudirire under democratic rule. Nekuti kana vachifunga kuti nyika yakaita seBritain is democratically up straight, obva vaidaidza to this meeting, what is Britain going to learn? If they thought Zimbabwe is not learning, they were supposed to invite Zimbabwe, it was supposed to come. But however, we are quick to say, Isusu as Zimbabwe and the government of Zimbabwe, we are not worried about not being invited to such a caucus meeting. Uringori musangano weipweredza sangana dzinoda kukurukura zvadzinokurukura. Kana tisina kudaidzwa asipo hapo, saka hatipo. Hazvina zvazvinoti affecta. Again, ndada kutsanangura kuti hachisi chokwadi kuti Zimbabwe haina kudaidzwa nekuti haitedzere kodzero dzevanhu. Zimbabwe muAfrica ndiyo iri pamusoro-soro pakuchengetedza kodzero dzevanhu, ndiyo iri pamusoro-soro munyika dzakati wandei panyaya yedemocracy, panyaya yehuman rights, panyaya yekuti whatever we want to think about which has to do with rights, Zimbabwe ndiyo iri pamusoro. Sekutaura kwatinombosimboita nguva dzakawanda, ZANU-PF inova bato riri kutonga muZimbabwe ibato rakaunza kutonga kwejekerere, kutonga kweruzhinji muZimbabwe. Saka haringazova bato ringabvisa kutonga kweruzhinji kwarakarwira. Saka kutonga kweruzhinji muZimbabwe kwakaunzwa nekuda kwekuti ZANU-PF yakarwira izvozvizvi kuti zvivepo. Chepiri, vanarenange vachitaura kuti Zimbabwe inofanira kuva readmitted into a group. To be democratic does not need to be a part of a group. People can make their groups as much as they want, but as far as we are concerned, edzidzai kumashoko ataurwa naBiden, even ndisingaverani nawo, but mashoko avataura ane musoro, vati iwo democracy rwendo hapana anoti tasvika. We are all fighting to come to the end. And vabvumawo vacho zvavo vaBiden kuti muAmerica democracy yanga yamboti dzikei pasi, saka vari kuedzawo kuti vadzokere palevel inotarisirwa nenyika inenge yavo. Saka zvinotiratidza kuti dzimwe nyika dzakaita seAmerica, dzakaita seBritain, dzakaita dzinofungirwa kunzi ndo dziri pamusoro-soro panyaya yekuzvitonga kuzere, dziri kutotaura kuti hadzisati dzasvika panonzi takwana. Saka in other words, Zimbabwewo haina kusvika panonzi takwana, tiri munzira yekuenda ipapo, kuti taapapi in the level of the democratic barometer tiri pamusoro-soro chaizvo. We are in a better zone, and vese vanotipikisa vanoverana nesu kuti we are very democratic, otherwise dai vanga vasiri muZimbabwe. So
just briefly in English, I've got a question here. Like, you are saying Zimbabwe is one country that is very democratic.
yes,
Can you justify your argument?
right. We have got as many political parties in Zimbabwe as you cannot fit them on your toes and fingers. That is a democratic sign. Again, we have got people in Zimbabwe who go out of the country, go and vilify the country, ask for sanctions against the country. They come back to Zimbabwe, they are still free. We've got Chamisa and BT who went for that trip of shame in America in 2018 and literally asked for sanctions against Zimbabwe. We've got people like so many people in Zimbabwe who want Zimbabwe to remain on sanctions. If it was in America, those people would have been arrested. If it was here in England, they would be in prison as we speak. But in Zimbabwe, they are free. We allow them to go and campaign. That means Zimbabwe is a democratic country, regardless of how people judge us. We judge ourselves, we stand ourselves straight as a democratic nation,
Thank you.
and we have done the best as a country. And we are proud of being Zimbabweans and proud of being ZANU-PF.
Thank you very much. And let's bring in Mr. Daunda Tsokora of the MTC Alliance. Mr. Tsokora, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duve Makadi Muri Zimbabwe.
Yes, and the basic definition of democracy is a government of the people by the people. Is that the case in Zimbabwe?
No, not at all. It's not a government of the people. We all know that all the elections that we have had in Zimbabwe have been very, very hotly contested elections. So Zimbabwe has failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. That's why we always have disputed elections. And just to answer Mr. Dr. Mavaza, President Chamisa and Honorable Tendai Biti and our later comrade Dewa Mavinga, when they came to America, they did not ask for sanctions. They did not ask for sanctions. And I repeat that. They were talking about human rights abuses in Zimbabwe. And Mr. Dewa Mavinga, we want to thank him, and may his soul rest in peace. He said the truth about Zimbabwe. Honorable Tendai Biti also said the truth about Zimbabwe, but none of them asked for sanctions. And then coming to the issue of Zimbabwe not being on that panel today and yesterday, it's very unfortunate. And it's a clear indication. If you needed any evidence, any V11, any testimony that ZANU-PF's re-engagement policy has failed, dismally failed, this is it. ZANU-PF, besides the talking and everything that they do, they are paying millions of dollars to companies here in America, one of them Ballard Investments, to do public relations for them, to do lobbying for them. And one of the key result areas of a lobbyist is to get Zimbabwe in these important meetings. They are not getting Zimbabwe in these meetings, but they are still getting millions of dollars. And it's a shame that we are not attending this meeting. And I know I cannot speak on behalf of the American government, but personally, I think the world is tired. I think most countries are just tired of Zimbabwe. ZANU-PF has been given many chances. They've attended many of these meetings, but nothing has changed. When Emmerson Mnangagwa came in, he promised free, fair, and credible elections. He promised reforms. He promised to improve Zimbabwe's human rights record. But instead, what we have seen is a worsening of the situation in Zimbabwe. We never saw during Robert Mugabe's era people being killed, shot at in cold blood, in daylight when people are watching. We saw it happening on August 1. We have seen an increase in abductions. Joanna Mamombe, Netai Marova, Cecilia Chimbiri, Tawanda Mchehiwa, the list is endless. And the world is watching. They'll be seeing all that. You don't need anyone, you don't need Chief Shoshe or Tawanda or Honorable Tendai Biti to come and tell the Americans that this is what is happening. They are seeing everything that is happening.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I think that might be the reason. I'm not saying that's the reason, but I think that might be the reason. Vanvaneta nezviri kuitwa neZimbabwe haiteedzere mitemo inotedzwa nedzimwe nyika.
Thank you, Jonga. Maybe you can pose a question to Mr. Tsokora.
Ndizvozvo. Ndinoda ndichidangoti ndinzwisise pacho pavanoti Zimbabwe iri kutyora kodzero dzevanhu, nekuti tinoona iyo Zimbabwe iri kutaura kuti iri kuita zvinongori mubumbiro remitemo yenyika zvinotarisirwa kuti nyika inge ichiita, zviri kunzi nevanhu kutyorwa kwekodzero dzevanhu.
Kodzero dzevanhu dziri kutyorwa, ende nhasi tiri kutaura riri International Day for Human Rights. And one of the biggest human rights abuses is coming in the form of Zimbabweans being, not allowed to exercise their democratic right of voting. The Zimbabwean government has not allowed more than 5 million Zimbabweans that are outside Zimbabwe to vote. But it's our democratic right to do that. Saka, those are some of the reasons why we end up saying Zimbabwe is not observing human rights. The people are being arrested arbitrarily in Zimbabwe. They get in and they're not allowed to get bail. And yet bail is also a basic right in our constitution. Vanhu vari kuuraiwa, vanhu vari kupondwa, vamwe vari kungopondwa chinzi COVID. Tongonzwa kuti munhu aita sei, vanhu vafa, vakuhwanda neCovid. Saka zvese izvozvo tikazvisanganisa, unoona kuti Zimbabwe haisi kuteedzera kodzero dzevanhu, haisi kuchengetedza kodzero dzevanhu. Totarisawo zvakare kuti muSouthern Africa Zimbabwe iri kuita sei panyaya dzema-human rights. KuZimbabwe ndokunosungwa vanhu zvakanyanyisa kupfuura Southern Africa yese, ndokunopondwa vanhu, ndokunobhinywa vanhu. Ma-security forces achinzi ari kubhinya madzimai panenge paitika ma-demonstrations paya. Zvese izvozvo zvikasanganiswa zvinoratidza kuti Zimbabwe haisi kuteedzera kodzero.
Now let's turn to Mr. Nhlanhla Moses Ncube. He's an independent political commentator based in South Africa. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
So what's your view on Zimbabwe being left out of the Summit for Democracy?
It should be an egg on the face for the country. Because if you are an individual who sees your relatives and your neighbors having a gathering and you are left out, or if it's a gathering of being good and you are left out, that should tell you that your image is as dirty as one may not be able to explain it. As I say this, the previous speaker is arguing that Mugabe was better than the current situation because he never killed anyone in broad daylight. That is not true. Unless if he is talking about not killing people in broad daylight in Mashonaland and not in Matabele. But if we are looking at the broader picture, We don't want to glorify Mugabe, and I would advise my esteemed, my fellow guests to desist from that. And then if we come to what the esteemed doctor is saying, what he is saying is not true. As far as I know, and we know, it's only him who could be very free. As we are talking here, he could be the only one who is very free. I guess most of us here are not as free as he is. And the top agenda for ZANU-PF and Zimbabwe, as far as I know, is to be engaged internationally. They are seeking that as their number one goal, as far as we know. So I'm surprised if he's coming and saying this. They were gloating and on cloud nine over Scotland recently, being happy that they went to Scotland. But today, all of a sudden, there are people who do not care whether they are invited or not. And it is not true to say that Zimbabwe is the most democratic country in Africa. I think my esteemed doctor actually understands very well where Zimbabwe is. What he's saying is not true. Zimbabwe needs to improve. We need to be telling our leaders, advising them to say something is wrong somewhere. Thank you.
Yes, Torufaya ngesintu baba amafishane khonokho.
Into ngithanda ukuyitsho ukuthi angivumelani lesikhulumi esiqeda kukhuluma esithi khona uMgabe kazange abulale abantu ilanga libalele. Thina sakubona ngaphandle nxa kuyikuthi ukhuluma ngokuthi eMashonaland into yokuqala ukuthi kubulawa abantu emini singamzusisa lapho. Ngokwazi kwami uhulumende weZimbabwe udinga kakhulu ukuthi adlelane lamazwe awomhlaba. Yikho esikwazi ukuthi bayakudinga. Nxa ungumuntu ngabona omakhelwane bakho abangani bakho besenza umcimbi okuthiwa ngowabantu abalungileyo wena bekuchiya phandle, kuthi ukuthi ngubhinya, kumele lokho kukutshele ukuthi khona ngubhinya. Sibabonile ke bejabulela ukuya eScotland, kodwa namuhla uDr Mabaza usevuka esithi yena abona kabancengi abafuni lutho. Akusilo qiniso lokho. So ke esikutshoyo yikuthi uhulumende ufuna ukubuyela ku-international community. Kumele simkhuthaze lapho kumele simeluleke khona, simeluleke ukuthi akenze izinto ngendlela ukuze laye abe yingxenye yalawo mazwe. Njalo akusikho qiniso ukuthi eAfrica iZimbabwe yiyo elombuso okhululekileyo kumbe idemocracy okwedlula wonke. Mina ngokwazi kwami ngazi ukuthi ngeyokucina igijima isemsileni. Kumele siyidonsele phambili ngokuthi siyinqebe indlela. Ngiyabonga.
Yes, awangkhuluke ubambe khonapho ngayikhatshana. Let's bring in Mr. Nari again. Go ahead, Jonga. Sorry, I think Jonga.
Thank you, Jonga.
Is a little bit muted.
Yes, I wanted to say maybe he wanted to respond to what the other guest said.
All
Mr.
right.
Chokora.
Thank you very much,
yes.
Mr. Jonga. So, firstly to say, it's acknowledged that ZANU-PF was one of the two liberation movements along with PF ZAPU. But I think all Zimbabweans know that ZANU-PF has long departed from the ideals of Kutsa Ruzhinji. So they don't believe in that. As it is, ZANU-PF was supposed to have an elective congress in 2019. They were supposed to elect leaders amongst themselves. They've been trying to do DCC elections across Zimbabwe. There are issues there. So as a party, there is no internal democracy within ZANU. So it cannot be expected that ZANU, even as the ruling governing party, can practice democracy within the institutions when they themselves as a party do not practice democracy within. So I think Dr. Mabasa needs to be reminded of that. So we have a long way to go. We do not have an independent electoral commission. ZEC, as it is constituted, is not independent. You know, the appointments of the commissioners, they're arbitrary. It's just the president choosing people, you know, who at times are now viewed as being related to other ZANU-PF people. So the closest we had to an independent electoral commission was when we had ZEC during the inclusive government, because you even had 3 political parties forwarding nominees for that electoral commission. But even then, they worked under very difficult conditions because the secretariat was militarized. As it is, Zimbabweans who are resident at home in the country cannot access IDs. You need an ID just to transact business. You need an ID to go and register as a voter, to go and vote. People cannot get IDs. We've had all sorts of excuses. We were promised that there was going to be a blitz in December by ZEC, and arbitrarily, for reasons best known to them, which do not make sense at all, that voter registration blitz has been cancelled. You have a country like South Africa that just recently did local government elections across the country. They've done their elections. The ANC didn't do as well, but the elections were done, you know. But yet in Zimbabwe, the elections keep getting postponed. Now you are told through a Politburo meeting, Central Committee meeting, that the elections are in March 2022. But you see, there's a way in which while you're in government, you handle yourself. You announce some priority government things through the government channels. You announce your own party things through your party. But in Zimbabwe, the ruling party is the government is the state. Everything is just, you know, just like that. So we do have a problem that Zimbabweans are not enjoying the rights. If the democracy was there, people would be getting their IDs, people would be getting registered as voters, people would be campaigning freely without being hindered across the country.
So maybe a quick reminder, you still remember when the former late president, Robert Mugabe, said the ZANU-PF is the government and the government is the party. So I think maybe they're still continuing with that. It was at a time when they were having these socialist and Marxist ideas, and they were saying, you know, a country has to be controlled from a certain center of power. It's totally undisputed. So it's just a quick reminder of what you're saying. So ngenxa sikhuluma ke ngakhonokho ukuthi democracy imenjani kwele Zimbabwe. Ukhulume enye into lapho yokuthi eqhathe kumangalisayo. Yokuthi democracy kumele ukuthi ngayikhona kubandla leZANU-PF ngokwalo. Kodwa lapho ongela democracy khona phana. Njalo kuya phambili nxa sebesenza ke izinto zokukhetho akube le democracy ngoba esandleni seZANU kuvele akula democracy. Ukuthi ngamafutshane ngesindebele kulapho njalo.
Yeah, njengoba le iBhayibheli liyatsho nje ukuthi ungahlanyela intanga yama orange uzavuna ama orange. Ungahlanyela intanga ungahlanyela ibanana uzathola ibanana. Esikubonayo ukuthi yona iZANU-PF ngokwayo kayikholwa indaba ye-democracy, imfundiso ye-democracy, which is why even since 1963, when they last had their election, when they were being set up, you can move from Ndabaningi Sithole to Robert Mugabe, and Robert Mugabe was there for like 37 years. Then sokungena uMnangagwa kuzwakala ngani kulisana uMnangagwa loChiwenga akula indlela yokuthi abantu bayakhethwa or president, you know, the democracy. You cannot run as one of the candidates within ZANU and present yourself to say, I also would like to be a president of ZANU. So it's been this continuation, this consensus. Everyone who said Mat South la ite kangene, le ite kangene. KuZANU abantu kabavunyelwe ama members eZANU ukuzikhethela. We actually have a court case kuthiwa nguSaibeth Musengezi ohambileyo eDale uthi hayi uMr Mnangagwa kangena ngakuhle. So there is no internal democracy within ZANU. Asikhanyelele ukuthi kube le democracy eZimbabwe ngoba vele kudlala amakhasi nje, you know.
Yes, akuzwa kakhulu ke. Let's bring in Dr. Mabaza so that he can defend his party here. Jonga.
Ongu Gibbs, ndofunga vabvira kare vachitsinza musoro vachida kupindura zviri kutaurwa nevamwe. Dr. Mabaza, manzwa mashoko ataurwa.
Thank you. Pane mashoko akati wande anofanira kupindurwa. Rega nditange nekutanga. I think hakuna munhu anofunga muZimbabwe angataurira kuti Mugabe anga asiri president vakanaka. Mugabe is a Zimbabwean hero, African hero, and he was a hero. And may he so rest in peace. Mugabe kana vakazokanganisika nekuchembera. Mugabe was not a killer, as the last speaker wanted it to appear like. And we cannot talk about that now. It is for another day. But Mugabe has carried the flag of the country up to his death. And therefore, we cannot vilify him simply for political gains. But however, let me explain one thing about diaspora vote. Iri kungochemwa nekungowavatwa nayo navasvosve nekuti svosve haritonzwisisa kuti chinonzi diaspora vote chii. A dominant narrative in deciding who can vote in your country depends with the country's constitution. Kunze munhu avhota ari kunze kwenyika hazviratidza kuti democratic. Constitution yenyu inoti kudii? Mu-America, the Americans, they only vote when they're outside the country at their embassies, when they work there, or when they're out for service, national service. Kanavari on the duty, on the government duty. That's when they vote outside. Any other American who is on holiday during the voting time cannot vote outside there. Any other American who is working his own personal job, the Constitution does not allow that. The diaspora voting is not in that way. Again, here in England, only those who are in Her Majesty's service are the ones who vote when they're in diaspora, when they're out of the country. But the rest who are there, they don't vote. So you do not measure that as a democratic means. And zvinonyadzisa kuti munhu mukuru sasekuru vangu vadzokora vanongofunga kuti chinonzi democracy kuvhota uri kunze kwenyika. Kana uchida kuvhota enda kunyika kwenyu munovhota. Democracy ndeyekuti muri kuteedzera here mutemo bumbiro remutemo wenyu, bumbiro remutemo wenyika muri kuteedzera here. Zimbabwe is following its constitution. Hatina pavanganongedzera vese ari kuvavata kuti apa Zimbabwe yakatyora mutemo wayo constitution. We have not done that. Again, ndipe kangu anibopindura kune mutauro abva mukutaura. Chekutanga
And briefly because time is running out. Yeah.
Kana vasazive zvinoitika muZANU-PF vanokumbirwa kuti vateerere tinogona kuvadzidzisa. MuZANU-PF mune democracy. ZANU-PF selection ya president or ya candidate who will become the president in the elections or who become the leader of the party. Izvozvo zvinoitwa according to our constitution. So what happens is every province would nominate the person they want to be the president or they want to stand as a candidate. Saka ma-province ese akatara arda munhu one, there's no problem. So everybody is nominated. In any case, my nomination akaitwa last conference haana zvaanoreva. The elective congress iri kuitwa next year towards 2023, and ndo pachaitwa the elective congress. Iyoyo ndo inovoterwa, and whatever comes there, that becomes the reality. So whatever has been happening, it is an intention shown, not that it's legally binding at all. Again, what happens within ZANU-PF, it is according to the ZANU-PF constitution. Saka ndinoshamisika kuona vamwe vanenge vari kunze vakuda kuti pamutemo yavo. Chepiri ndinoda kuti titaure zvakare kuti hanzi nemwe mutauri ukaona vavakidzani vako vakaungana ukasadaidzwa pane dambudziko. Kana vavakidzani vako vane pfungwa shoma vakaungana hazvirevi kuti unofanira kuunganawo navo. Vavakidzani vedu hatina vavakidzani vaungana. Mozambique has not been invited to that democracy whatever. Chamunofanira kunzwisisa, what we must understand politically, Joe Biden, the president of the United States of America, is trying to show his influence by inviting many people of the world, the world over, so that he can assert the dominance of America, which was taken away and thrown into the bin by Donald Trump. He is trying to save the face of America, which has been destroyed by Trump. So this has nothing to do with Zimbabwe. We cannot go there and cement and cement the case Syria. Saka kusava kweZimbabwe pa this program. I program haisi United Nations, haisi the world over. Ndiye America inogona kudzidzisa democracy. But the good thing I love about Joe Biden, ataura in his inauguration, in his opening speech, kuti democracy is a way, is a journey. Nobody has arrived yet. Saka in this case, in short, Zimbabwe remains the best. Zimbabwe does not kill its people. And it's not correct kuti Zimbabwe ndio inosunga vanhu vakawanda in Southern Africa. We've got people in Eswatini vari kufa
Over
about
to South
11, 12
Africa.
a day. And in Eswatini, we are talking about 1.5 million people. That's the population. 11 guys are killed in a political violence almost daily. That is a lot of people dying. And that is not even near Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, we only saw people being shot during elections. Vanhu vanga vari ma-rebels, anga ari kuenda
Yes,
kunoita
thank you.
overtake the election before it was announced. Ndo vakapfurwa, havana kupfurwa nemasoja, vakapfura
Dr.
navega.
Mavaza,
Soja
thank
was
you.
there to monitor and give peace. Hatina evidence kuti masoja ndo akauraya vanhu. Saka zviri kungotaurwa navadzokora nevamwe vari kutaura havana ruzivo nezvakaitika. Saka hazvina kunaka kungoti kana tawana pekushama toshama
Dr. Mavaza, thank you.
tichinyomba nyika yedu.
Thank you, Dr. Mavaza. I know that Mr. Nare is itching to say something, but let's give a chance to Mr. Tsokora. So, Mr. Tsokora, in winding down our discussion here, what's your reaction to what Dr. Mavaza is saying?
Yeah, first of all, let me very quickly apologize to my colleague who reminded me that it was not the first time that people were killed in broad daylight on August 1. People had been killed before in Matabeleland. My apologies for that. So it's obviously confirmation that both Emmerson Mnangagwa and Robert Mugabe have a lot of blood on their hands. And then just to fact check Dr. Mavaza, vanouya pano vachinyepera vanhu zuva nezuva. Americans living abroad are allowed to vote. Whether there are others that will be on official duty, they have their own way of voting. Americans that are on holiday, Americans that have visited other countries, they are allowed to vote. They use a variety of ways. One of them is called absentee voting. And it's a two-step process, which is very simple. So, Dr. Mavaza, don't come here and lie and say that Americans are not allowed to vote when they are outside the country. They are allowed to vote. So don't try to justify what Zimbabwe is doing, taking away our rights, taking away the rights of 5 million people that are supposed to be voting. We are going to vote, and I can tell you this, Dr. Mavaza, in 2023, Zimbabweans that are outside the country are going to vote. You are a doctor, but today I'm going to teach you something. Please go and read something about ICCPR, International Convent on Civil and Political Rights. Zimbabwe is a signatory to that. And in 1991, 13 May 1991, Zimbabwe ratified that. So they should abide by that treat, by that treat that they signed. And that treat also gives the rights of Zimbabweans that are outside the country to vote and to demand the host countries like America, United Kingdom, and South Africa to even pay for that. So Zimbabwe can no longer hide behind the finger that they don't have money, they don't have resources for them to allow us to vote. So it's going to be done by our host countries where we are. I want to refer you to that. Please go and read that. And I want to tell Zimbabweans that in 2023, we are going to vote. If you haven't listened to Chief Nduweni speaking, please start listening to Chief Nduweni because he explains that very well. Ikodzero yedu vana vai muZimbabwe vari kunze kwenyika kuti tivote. Dr. Mavaza ngavaregedze kuuya pano vachinyepa vachiti dzimwe nyika hadzidaro. Tinadzo nyika dzakawandisa kusanganisira Mozambique, Tanzania nedzimwe dziri muAfrica dzinotobvumira zvizvarwa zvadzo kuti dzivote vari kuno kuAmerica, vari kuUnited Kingdom. Saka ngatirambei vana veZimbabwe tichirwira kodzero yedu yekuti tivote tiri outside Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tsokora. Let's bring in Mr. Nare. I could see him shaking his head, you know. So
yeah, thank you, Mr. Dube, and thank you to the fellow panelists for a very informative session. I think, again, Dr. Mavaza, Mr. Mnangagwa set up a commission to investigate the shootings, which revealed that members of the military were involved in that shooting that took place in Harare. So you cannot come back here and say the soldiers were not involved. It is on record. It's there, you know. So, and the recommendations of that Motlanthe Commission have not been implemented. It is the right of Zimbabweans as Africans, for their own dignity, to enjoy good governance, to enjoy their human rights, economic prosperity. But the evidence on the ground is that Zimbabweans are not enjoying that, which is why we see people leaving the country, you know. And right now, people are now even being sent back from South Africa. That's the pain that Zimbabweans are going through. So we got our independence, but there is no democracy, there is no good governance. Every progressive Zimbabwe should be working so that democracy is established and good governance is established in Zimbabwe. Thank you, Mr. Dube. Thank you, Kandemiri.
Yeah, so I think you're about to go. So, Janimiri, maybe you pose a last question to Mr. Nare briefly.
Maybe the last word for him to the government of Zimbabwe and ZANU-PF as a party.
The government of Zimbabwe and ZANU-PF as a party, I think they just need to embrace change. The word change is associated with one political party, but change is the only permanent thing in life. You know, the world has changed. People see through everything that is happening in Zimbabwe. Zimbabweans on the ground are not happy, you know, and the only way to make things better is to sit down and listen to the people, you know. So the winds of change are, you know, moving over Southern Africa. We saw the change in Malawi, saw the change in Zambia, you know, and when the time for change has come, you know, the best thing is to change with the season, you know, and the people of Zimbabwe will be happy. I'm sure even people within ZANU-PF themselves will be happy. I was there during the inclusive government, and I worked with colleagues from across the political spectrum, and people told you that they were happy. ZANU-PF people told me in Harare that they were happy because things had changed. With the finance minister, Tendai Biti, people were getting paid in US dollars, things were stable, you could invest, you could plan for the future. But right now, you just don't know what will happen because anything is possible. So we need a better Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you
Nare.
so much.
Have a nice day. Thank you so much. Now, let's get to
human rights. It's also helping to drive global growth. Last month, I was proud to sign a bipartisan piece of legislation, a true act of consensus between Democrats and Republicans in our country, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. This legislation will make a generational investment to deliver what people need most in the 21st century: clean water, safe roads, high-speed broadband internet, and so much more. All of which strengthens our democracy by creating good-paying union jobs that will translate to lives of opportunity and dignity for working people with better access to the tools and resources they need to thrive. And soon, I hope to sign into law a bill we call the Build Back Better plan, which will be an extraordinary investment in our people and our workers and give American families just a little more breathing room to deal with their problems and their opportunities. Our domestic agenda has been focused on delivering for the needs of the American people, strengthening our democratic institutions at home. My first day in office, I signed an executive